Well, good afternoon from Jamestown. This is America's birthplace. 1607. Ships landed and the first permanent settlement was started. (1607 to 1624). Yeah, lots of people down here today. Lots of tour groups, I believe. Lots of kids' field trips, it sounds like. And everyone having a great time. History and the learning. I'm still learning.
Nick, you can't touch that.
And they're in here actually an archaeological dig, trying to find the foundations of all these various buildings. The dig didn't start until just a few years ago. And it was just an accident that they came across the old foundations. They had thought that Jamestown, the original fort, was actually taken by the James River many years ago. But with the discovery of one of the foundations, they started measuring, and lo and behold, they have two of the three corners and the foundations of many of the old buildings dating back to 1607. As with any archaeological dig, you start working by just picking the soil, bucket after bucket, and then sifting that soil to see if there's anything of value. Historical value is what we're looking for.
Yeah, this is it's an interesting feature that we're in too. We uncovered a cache of arms and armor just behind me that we were doing Sunday. How to go? There was a broadsword that came out, and 3 other sword hilts, and maybe a crushed helmet that was all kind of piled on top of each other in the corner.
Wow, and you found it on Sunday?
Well, we found it last 2 Fridays ago, and we just kind of had to keep working back to dispose it all, so we didn't take it out and run the risk of breaking everything. We've been working on that most of the week to get it all ready, and it all came out on Sunday.
That's neat that it came out on Sunday.
Yeah, it was a good time.
I think they were working on it.
Notice the foundations in the foreground. Exploratory holes all around. And of course, when they do find anything, like the cache of arms right behind them, everything is flagged and marked and photographed. And
even the stuff they were using as ballast on the ships and the foundations for those buildings you can see there. Most of that is local stone. You see tons of, not cobbles, but smaller smaller cobbles,
Okay.
essentially. So they could have gotten them from around.
They could have gotten them there.
The only thing, really, the main things that we find are English flint that they're bringing with them, and then Bermuda limestone, because after their shipwreck down there in 1610, they are using that as ballast, and then they use that in the foundations of the local stone
Okay.
for those huge timber frame buildings they build the row houses.
Thousands of artifacts.
Find anything today? Okay. Oh, wow. Look, Jonathan, look at all the things we found. I know. Come back over here and look at these things. I can't. Go in here. Can you see? Yeah, go back in there. Okay.
And what is that?
These are just fish scales. Or these ones right here.
From
And then back here are like little bits of bone and stuff for that one. Really little bits, yeah.
Silver fish scales like that onto that.
Fish scales, eggshell.
And eggshells too. Oh yes.
Makes sense. They found chicken wings.
You could make us real happy if you'd hold those 3 little pieces of pipe in your hand for a moment. I think you'll get 3 or 4 people clicking here.
And this is just since what time this morning?
Oh, they start working. What time do you guys start working here? Like
At 8:30.
Around 8:30 since this morning.
slow and steady, but lots of things go up.
I
All right.
would say you could get 1 million.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
you just found those today?
Yes, sir.
Wow. It's not a typical day, you say? It's not a typical day?
This is a typical day at Jamestown.
Oh.
The other side of the way. Heard stories of that.
Oh, yeah.
How pathetic it is.
Jargle!
Yeah, like the field school from Monticello comes out and visits during our field school, and they're like, we dug all summer and found 1 nail. It's like, yeah, we found 500.
So somebody said you found a pipe today,
Yeah.
huh?
Yeah, this is one of them.
Oh, okay. Hold it there a minute. He ain't got his camera going. You get it. Ah.
We're looking at the James River. And the fence line that you see in the background, just over the rise, was the outside edge of the fort. And the dig is, of course, happening on the inside here where all the buildings were. Church was a later addition. But the fence is actually the original fort line, and with the James River to your right on that. Well, we're in the recreation of Jamestown Fort. And we'll do a little pan here. This is what life was like in 1607. Well, that's when they started the fort. It took them a year or so to build. Well, maybe just a summer's worth because they spent the winter here. And back to the entrance. It's a recreation of one of the 3 ships. They were actually built down here at Jamestown. The other 3 ships carried 104, I believe, men and supplies to the new country, Virginia. Yeah, pretty small ships to actually be sailing the ocean. But all 3 of them came across all the supplies, food, cattle, everything to start a new colony. These vessels can actually sail because they take them out into the James River occasionally. Let the crew practice their raising the sails and discovering new worlds. No, I think everything's been discovered. Yeah, they found quiet shelter and started a colony. Jamestown. 1607.
Yes, sir. Oh, you're welcome.
There's lots of ropes here.
Lines, ma'am. That's okay.
You know what
Well, in the
Each line has a different purpose and a different name.
sleeping area, front of the boat, the ship.
That's where the expression comes from, exactly. Come aboard.
Front of the boat is called what, Paul?
The bow.
The bow versus the stern. Sleeping area up here in the bow.
probably a lot of space in there.
It's not a lot, but
I mean, to what the other people have, though.
he has his own area, so that's kind of nice.
And who sleeps in here?
Well, most people are passengers down below in the queen deck for 4.5 months on top of cargo. They don't get the best quarters though, the officers do in the stern.
Down here was
Yes, ma'am.
the heavier stuff.
And we're at the stern.
People were a lot littler.
People a lot littler. 400 years ago, Paul said.
You want me to reach in there and move the handle?
How simple. Well, we're on the second level. One level below top deck. Dark down here. A few cannons. Supplies were stacked here. And I think people were stacked on top of the supplies.
How do you get down there? Okay, line up behind you. Are we going?
And that's the rudder. Out the back end.
Okay, come on, guys. I'm finally dead.
And there's even another level down below us. You can even hear the wood just creak as it's crossing the ocean for 4 months. This is the helm, the stick that comes down from up above, connected to this rod that goes out the stern and where the rudder is located. Another person who didn't have a ticket. No ticket. Kaboom!
Really loud. If you are interested, you may want to start making your way to the end of the pier. Go down the ladder, turn to your left. Walk to the end of the pier.
If you don't have a ticket, you'll be the target.
And this is our swivel gun here. These ships that we have, are they pirate ships that we have here?
No.
Are they warships? No, they're not. Are they going to be going out and picking fights? No. Why do they have guns on? To protect ourselves from the pirate ships and the warships that are out there. And they definitely are out there. When we sail from England, we sail down through the Canary Islands, and then across to the Caribbean, and then up past Florida. These are all pretty dangerous areas for English ships. The Spanish are all over the place, and the Spanish don't really like the English too much in 1607. And the Spanish don't like the English in Spanish territory, especially. So when we're sailing through the Caribbean, we have the Spanish to worry about. When we're sailing through the Caribbean, there's another group of bad guys that live in the Caribbean. Who are they? Pirates, yeah. Yeah, Johnny Depp. But there are really pirates in the Caribbean, and they are a concern for us. So we do have to protect ourselves with guns like this. Now, if one of these ships ran up on a Spanish warship and they started fighting, who would win the fight? The Spanish warship would, obviously. So if we happen to see a ship like that, are we going to try to fight? No, what are we going to try to do instead? Run away, right. Right, when we fire these guns, we're firing these guns to help us get away. If a ship is chasing you, and you want it to stop chasing you, what part of that ship are you going to shoot at? The sails, yeah. Yeah. If you can punch holes in their sails, then they can't sail anymore, and then they can't chase you, and they can't catch you, and they can't kill you. So that's what we're going to try to do with our guns. We're going to try to fire into the sails, or try to stop the ship from moving. There are lots of different ways you can do that. You could fire solid round shot like this, and you can pass that around, let everybody see it. Round shot like that will punch holes in things. It flies straight, and it flies far, and it flies fast, and it hits things hard. Unfortunately, with small guns like that, you can't fire a big enough round shot to really punch a hole in a ship and sink a ship or something like that. And if it hits a sail, it's going to put a relatively small hole in sail. If you want to put bigger holes in sails, you're going to move on to bigger kinds of shot. Now, while you can't fit a bigger ball inside a gun like that, you can put a pretty long bar inside a gun like that. So we'll fire bar shots sometimes out of these guns, and this thing will spin around through the air and make bigger holes in things when it hits things. Or if we want to be really nasty, we'll start putting chain shot in there, and the chain could be much longer than the one on this gun, on this shot here. But chain shot will fly through the air and spin around like this, and not only will it put a big hole in a sail, but it'll also really tie up rigging and rip down all the ropes that are holding these sails up. If we can rip through those lines, then the ship can't sail, and they can't catch us, and they can't kill us. We like that. So these are the kinds of things that we're going to try to do with this gun. We're going to try to make it hard for our enemy to chase us, so that we can get away and we can stay alive and we can keep all our stuff and keep our ships. If we do get caught, though, we will have to protect ourselves, and these guns, especially these swivel guns like this one behind me here, called a swivel gun, of course, because it does swivel around like that, are really good for protecting us if our enemies are trying to board our ships. We can point them wherever we need to, and we can fire especially stuff like this out of them. This is what we call case shot. Now, inside this case, you can put any number of things. You can put musket balls in there, you can put scraps of iron in there, you can put nails in there, you can put glass in there. Anything that'll punch a hole in somebody, you can put inside this case. When it comes out of the gun, of course, the case breaks open and those things go flying all over the place. Now, you might be trying to board my ship, but if a nail comes past your head at 400 miles an hour, are you going to think about boarding my ship anymore? No, you're not going to want to be there anymore. So that's what we're trying to do with these guns. We're not trying to win any big fights. We're not trying to sink any enemy ships. We're not trying to take anybody else's stuff. We're just trying to keep ourselves alive and keep our ships in good shape as we cross the ocean. These guns are strictly defensive for us. Now we are going to be firing this gun now. When we fire it, we won't be putting any case shot in there, and we won't be trying to kill anybody. But we will be putting real gunpowder in there, and it will be really noisy. Okay. When we fire this, I do recommend that you cover your ears. Don and I will be wearing earplugs as we do that, and I know most of you guys forgot your earplugs today, but that's okay. Just cover your ears. When we say have a care, that's your cue to cover your ears. We're going to go through the process of getting this gun ready. We'll say have a care, and you'll cover your ears. After your ears are covered, I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, and then you guys are going to shout out the final command. What is that final command?
Fire.
All right, let's practice that one time, just to make sure everybody's on the same page. I'll say, have a care. You guys will cover your ears. And then 1, 2, 3.
Fire.
Okay, all right. It'll have to be louder. Don's a little deaf. He's been doing this artillery for a while. So we'll have to make it real loud when we do it, but that sounds pretty good. All right, you guys ready to go through this? When we load this gun, and this gun has already been loaded now, we load it from the breech. Most guns in the 17th century and even much later in history are loaded from the muzzle, from the front end of the gun. You put everything in that way and it comes back out the same way. This gun, we put everything in through the breech. This piece at the breech is called a mug, and it's basically a big iron or brass mug that's filled with gunpowder. It sits behind the shot and you light it off from there. After you fire it, you can take that mug out, you can put a fresh mug in and fire it again and again. It makes the gun quick to fire. This gun's already been loaded. The next step in the process will be to prime the gun. The powder charge in there is inside a bag, so he's going to take that pick there, he's going to punch a hole in that bag. That exposes the gunpowder inside the gun. Once that's done, then he'll take some loose powder and he'll pour it into a little hole in the side of the mug, creating basically a gunpowder fuse for us. There's a little bit of gunpowder now sitting outside the gun. After the gun has been aimed, then I will come over here and grab my linstock. This tool here is called a linstock. It's basically a long pole with a burning piece of rope on the end of it. The rope's been treated with gunpowder so it burns nice and slowly and consistently. Makes it nice for touching off the gun. But before I do that, I'm going to put in my earplugs. And then I'm going to give you that command. Have a care! All right, guys. 1, 2, 3.
Fire!
And there it goes.
Made me jump.
Did we hit anything? And that's the way it's going to work, guys. That concludes our demonstration. If you guys have any questions about this stuff, please feel free to ask us. We'll be here cleaning up for a few minutes.